Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Today with me, Ahmada Mulki Zakia from Practitions of PLP 2023 at Semantic 2023. So it's going to be a lot better presentation from me to make sure that all of you understand about what I'm going to explain about my materials. So you're not really curious about materials, but it's quite amazing later. Alright, so let's see this one out. So it is about poetry and poem. So we'll have you a great understanding about poetry and poem, and also you will be able to read, to make first and then read the poem from your own. Therefore, it is going to be exciting lesson for all of you, and that's quite nice to be done. So here we go. Hello students, I already give you a materials about what is going to be done today. So right now I'm going to give you a daily hadith. That this hadith is actually from a great collector, Al-Bukhari, and it is written on number 2896, and it is said, "You're not helped and provided with this sustenance except because of the prayers of those who are weak among you." So that the way you are implicating your knowledge towards what I have to teach to you. It is about the hadith that we have to care each other. Alright? Therefore, let's go to the next slide. Alright, I have a brainstorming for you. So, the brainstorming is actually quite interesting. We have 3 words here. This one, you have to mention the word that has the same end. So, can you do it? Alright, you may do it right away. Therefore, right now it's time for you to done this one. Alright, here we go. We have religiosity, future, and hope. Please write 3 till 4 words that contains the same end of the sound, the same sound at the end of those each words. Alright, so that's your task. So if you want to collect your task, please write it down on the comments below, so I'll be able to see that and make a correction towards it. So therefore, there you go. I'll wait you till 2 minutes. Okay, it's not quite that good, or really it's easy part of our lesson, so it is brainstorming to make all of you are complicit into something. So here it is the way to warm up your brain and everything. So while I talk, please think about the rhyming sound of these words. Alright everyone, so it's already 2 minutes, so I'll give you mine of those rhyming sounds of those letters or those words. Okay, so here we go. Well, in this one I give you the religiosity. The religiosity we have chivalrously, difficulty, differently, digitally, and diligently. In the future we have satir, fewer, sooner, hoover, and mover. Therefore, here in hope, we have hope, globe, rope, strobe, and scope. Those are the rhyming sounds of those words. Those words are religiosity, future, and hope. Those has same The religiosity we have the sound T, T, T in every end. And then future we have in every sound. And then we have hope, hope in every, in every word. Therefore, that's what we call as rhyming sound. Okay, can everyone guess what we are going to do? So I already mentioned it in the part of our introduction. So here is actually the way you have to really pay attention towards my presentation. Alright? Is that okay? Well, if you're curious enough, I want to ask you 2 questions. So, what do you know about poetry? What do you know about poetry? Please answer it in the comments below. Then you'll be able to know. Are you already know about what is poetry? So therefore, you have to enter it right away, right now. Come on. Alright. So the second question. The second question is, have you ever made one? Okay. You make a comment in this comment box. Okay. Well, that's what you have to do. So right here, into the next slide, we have the difference between poetry and poem. So are there any differences between those two? So here is how I understand about poetry and poem. I will tell you something. That poetry is a literary work in which spatial intensity is given to the expression of feelings and the ideas that is used of distinctive style and rhythm. And it is poetry, it is spatial kind of writing to arrange words in creative way to help readers think or feel. And then therefore, poetry tells thoughts and feelings of the author. While poems, remember, is a part of poetry. So it is part of poetry that usually writer, it is usually shorter, and it is a piece of writing that partakes the nature of both speed and song. That is nearly always rhythmic and usually metaphorical. That's the difference. So the clarification is poetry and poems. A poem is written poetry. Poetry is an idea where poetry is often referred to a genre in literature. So poetry is a house, poems is the one who lives inside it, or a room which is inside it. Okay, that's the idea of poetry and poem. So, do you understand? If you say understand, comment below. Okay, great. Well, I have an example over here. It is an example of poetry. So let me give you a hint how to read it, okay? So, there is Sonnet 18 by William Shakespeare. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Ruin to shake the darling buds of May, in summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and everywhere from fair sometimes declines, by chance of nature's changing course untamed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou art, nor shall death browse thou wanders in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou grows. So long as man can breathe through eyes can see, so long life's this, and this gives life to thee. That's an example of poetry. How about the example of poem? So this example of poem, it is Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. Whose woods there are thing I know, his house is the village through. This house in the village through will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it quaint to stop without a firm house near, between the woods and frozen lake and the darkest evening of the year. So that's an example of poem, and you can continue the rest. So I'll continue to the next explanation. The elements of poetry. As we already know the example, right now it is time for me to explain the elements of poetry. The element of poetry, they are consisting five. Usually we are consisting five elements of poetry. The first one is stanza. There is rhyme, repetition, and also rhythm and imagery. Those are the building elements of poetry. And if I may explain, the first is stanza. What do you know about stanza? It is a group of lines in poetry, and then rhyme, words that end in the same sound. There is a repetition, which is meaning as a word or lines that repeat to pay special attention to the language. So the repetition is actually occurred in a certain stanza that is used to make special attention or exaggeration towards the meaning of that poem or poetry. And then there is a rhythm. The rhythm is a pattern of the sounds that create the tone of the poem. And then there is imagery, that is a word to paint a picture on our mind. Or we can say later, it is about something that we could also explain later, this presentation. Okay, so wait it out. Alright, so here we go. You can screen out the slides over here. And let's go to another material. There is literary device. What are these? There are usually two of them. There are alliteration and also assonance. So the alliteration is the repetition of consonant sound that usually occurs at the beginning of successive words. For example, over here, example number 1 on your, I don't know how to say, but it's going to be here. Alright, Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. So that's the example of alliteration. How about assonance? Assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds at the beginning of successive words. So, it is the example, go slow over the road. So, there are sounds of O at every word or in that line. So, the repetition of short O vowel sound, it is what is called assonance. So, assonance is the vowel sound A, I, like that, and that's it's getting good like that in the assonance. So that's what is called as literary device. Alright, so there are another material that is quite interesting. So here we go. Well, we have a figurative language. We have simile, hyperbole, personification, metaphor, and also sarcasm. Well, figurative language is defined as an expression of writing or unwriting that someone will know the meaning if someone can interpret its meaning. So let me give you an explanation. Alright, let me explain you one by one. So here we have simile. What is simile? It is a means of a comparison between two things or concepts. Usually it is using as or like. For example, there is the sentence, there are as bright as sunshine. There is a metaphor over here. It is a comparison without using as or like to convey the similarities instead of using the words that mean in the same quality. So for example, she is a treasure for me. That is actually an equivalent thing between she and a treasure. So that's what is called as metaphor. Are you understand by far? Okay, good. So how about hyperbole? So hyperbole is an exaggeration of its real meaning and the statement to become more excessive. For example, I will never forget even thousands of apologies. So that is an exaggeration or hyperbole, an exaggeration of something. And then, how about personification? Personification is giving a feature of an object that is non-human, that they are is actually looks like they are doing something that humans do. For example, the tiny cat not in his heart. So the cat is not human, and the heart is actually nodding. So it is something that usually humans do, that is nodding like this, right? So that is what we call as personification in a poetry or poem. Well, how about sarcasm? Sarcasm is the word that has a good literary meaning, but actually it is meaning or satirizing. For instance, wow, her makeup is so thin. It is actually something that is actually untrue. She actually wears or uses a makeup quite that thick of her face. Maybe, I don't know. It's kind of example. It is an example of sarcasm, and that usually happens in my society, if I'm not mistaken. So I do believe it is just an example. Alright, so that's figurative language. And right now, we are examining about how to, how to elaborate, explain a poetry by analysis. Here we go. Alright, so we have Four Leaves Fall by Emily Bronte. We have two stanzas here. If I'm not mistaken, I just took these two stanzas, and the first stanza is actually fulfilled by some of the poetry elements, and the first we have rhyme. Rhyme over here, it contains away, day, me, tree in the first stanza, and then snow, grow, decay, and day in the second stanza. And the repetition, it occurs at the first stanza. It is four leaves falls, which means it's something full, and it is a repetition of fall word. And then there is imagery. There is imagery that is in the color of green. In the green color, there is in the first stanza we have a green color of leaf speaks, please to me. So that leaf speaks. It is actually an imagery that is actually, we can say it's a figurative language of personification. That's great. And there is alliteration over here. It's alliteration. What is alliteration? It is the repetition of consonant sound. Over here we have shall, smile, of snow. That is sound in that line. It is in a proper color. And this poetry doesn't contain assonance or the repetition of vowel sounds, but the rhythm is produced by ourselves by emphasizing the word that shows matter in it. So, are you curious how to read the poetry? But before that, there are some topics that you must choose. So later that you have to make a poetry writings and read it. So you have to be ready at the end. So here we go. The techniques of reading poetry, there are only three. The reading poetry technique is really easy. So the first one is that you have to introduce the poem. Introduce the poem is meaning read aloud the title and the writer, and that's how to introduce your poem. And then you later tell about a basic story or basic meaning of this poem. What is the next step to read the poem? The next step to read the poem is having a pitch. Pitch is actually a tone of how you interpret that poem into your own language or your own interpretation of tone. It may be becoming higher level of tone or in the lower level of tone, and that is using loud or gradually lowering your voice. And then the last one is pace. A pace is actually the speed how you read a poem. It is could be starting slowly to speed gradually, and then you will be quickly beginning and then gradually decreased that speed into a slow rhythm of pace, and that's how you read poetry. Well, these all are how you maintain to understand what is poetry and poem, the elements of poetry, the figurative language, how to make is all are in the part of how you know the elements of poetry, and also you have to choose your topic, and later on you'll find some meanings on that topic. And then the later one we have already know how to read the techniques of how to read a poetry or poem. This I already explained it to you, and it's quite exciting to learn with all of you. And I think that's the last one for me. Thank you very much for having a great attention towards my explanation. So here we go. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you.